Good morning, my bucket pond friends and family. Welcome back to the fish room. Today we are building a brand new jar aquarium. We are using a 1-gallon jar that I purchased from the dollar store. I have cleaned it and filled it full of water that was taken from deep within the earth, so it is clean and free of chemicals. For this build, we are using what is called the Bag of Bugs, an aquarium kit that you can order from phillipsfishworks.com. You can also find their YouTube channel linked in the description. Now, I should mention that Phillips Fishworks is not a sponsor of our channel, and that's fine. We're just buddies on YouTube. Definitely check out their stuff. But I can tell you right away that the package is very professional. It arrived quickly. Tony over at Phillips Fishworks, he includes a cooling packet to keep everything from overheating. Lots of protective material. They even used the right cardboard for shipping live fish. I am very impressed. They also send you a free clay pendant with every purchase, and I think that's really cool. Every shipment, as far as I know. So inside of your Bag of Bugs package, you will receive a plant, and here we have some beautiful hornwort that we'll look at again in a moment. And you'll also receive a bag of leaves and microfauna, along with some sweet gum seed pods for the scuds inside. I'm very excited about that. So to start with, we're basically going to dump everything into the jar. We're going to add these leaves in here and the seed pods. Also all of our scuds, and I think I saw some ostracods and some paramecium and some other things that are probably in here as well. We're just going to gently dump them into the jar. And I like to take a bag like this off screen, add a little bit of extra water, swish it around a little bit, and then dump that into the jar as well, because I don't want to risk losing any little life forms that may have been clinging to the bag itself, There we go. And right away, I think that these leaves look really cool as a substrate, and that gives me a ton of ideas, for future projects. We're going to get our little tiny shovel out here and adjust things just a little bit. These little shovels are great for aquascaping and just working in your tanks in general. There we go, yeah. So I am going to add one bucket ponds element to this project, and that is a few chunks of marble. I really like marble in our jar aquariums as it can help to balance the pH, albeit very slowly. And I also think it looks really cool, but here we're really going to use it to weigh down our hornwort a little bit. And you'll see what I mean here in a moment. So here is our hornwort. This stuff is beautiful. It feels a bit like pine needles, like it's a little crunchy almost. It smells really good, kind of like wet grass, and I'm very excited to include this in our project. I did find wild hornwort once a few years ago in a lake nearby, but it was very deep and inaccessible. Plus, a lot of people live around that lake, and they were kind of watching me. We also have alligators here in this area, and I'm not necessarily a fan of getting, nibbled on. So we chose not to collect that particular plant. And instead we have a hornwort here from our buddy Tony over at Phillips Fishworks. Having a plant from a friend is even better, Lately we have received sesquitertang from our friend Clay, and I am so grateful, along with frogbit and azolla fern from our friend Dina at Psycho Plant Lady on YouTube. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm very happy to see all these things. This particular kit I did purchase, but I wanted to show you guys, I believe in this company. I believe in what they're doing over there. They've sold a couple thousand of these kits already, so that should say a lot. You can also find Phillips Fishworks on YouTube. They have a channel with some excellent videos. Please check it out. But we're just going to gently weigh down our hornwort just a little bit. There we go. Yeah. I don't want to crush it. I don't want to stab it down into the substrate. I kind of want it to float. But I want to get the best of both worlds. I want it to look like it's planted if possible. So right away, the jar looks really interesting. I love the greens and browns, and that little piece of marble kind of adds a little light to the project as well. And I feel like we're interacting with one of Tony's aquariums. We're just going to polish the jar a little bit, but I do feel like we're interacting with someone else's tank, and that's really cool. It's an interesting feeling when you can examine someone else's samples and, see how their stuff works and how you can modify your setups to make them better. But right away I see a lot of activity in here. The scuds move very quickly and they're somewhat hard to film, but we'll see them here in a little bit. Tony also included a few ram's horn snails and a couple bladder snails. There's a look at that pennant. I think that's beautiful. It's really cool. I hope to stick it on the jar or maybe on the lid or something like that. I'm still thinking about it. Probably not meant to go into the aquarium itself, though that would be pretty cool too. But I wouldn't do that, yeah. And here's a little note that they send along with every bag of bugs, which mentions that you should not add the pennant to the tank. Some care instructions, some details. I think that's really cool, very helpful. So we're going to add the lid that came with this jar and just gently set it on top. And here we are on day 2. So it's day 2, and I noticed that a few of our snails in here, the ram's horn snails in particular, they were acting somewhat lethargic and hanging out near the surface. And I've seen them do this in aquariums before. Typically it means that there's not a lot of oxygen in there. So I'm going to do something that we don't usually do in our jars. I'm going to add a sponge filter. Here we have an Aqualife beta filter here. It's a tiny sponge filter with a tiny air pump meant for use in a beta aquarium. Aqualife is not a sponsor. I just happened to pick this up at Walmart for pretty cheap. And one bad thing, though, is that it comes with this really crappy silicone tubing. We're going to throw that out and use our standard aquarium tubing instead. But the little sponge filter is pretty cool, very effective, and as long as this little air pump will survive, I'm sure we'll have a lot of use for this. Unfortunately, it does attach by a suction cup, and suction cups are notoriously unreliable in my jar aquariums, so we'll just have to hope for the best. Worst case scenario, I will weigh it down with a rock or something. But for now, we're just going to stick it on the jar. And right away, it looks really cool. This should have a few benefits for our tank. And I overflowed the jar a little bit. My hand displaced a bit of water. So yeah, that happens. Be careful. But there we go. We've added a sponge filter to our aquarium. And that's something that you don't usually see me doing. I'm not too worried about the sponge itself. It's more or less there for aeration. I just don't like air stones. I don't like the way they look. I don't like the way that they break down over time. I'd much rather have something like this. Yeah, and so the tank looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it so far. Again, it is day 2, and things have had a chance to relax a little bit, to spread out, crawl around, swim, and do all the stuff they do. I'm very excited about our snails in here, as there are a couple bladder snails, and I look forward to, eventually mixing them into our population. Once we get them to raise their numbers a bit, it's not very difficult, as you know, I'm sure. But the ram's horn snails as well are very interesting. They seem to be a leopard print ram's horn, something that we have not inquired. We have not run into as of yet, so another welcome addition for our projects. We should be able to raise everything in here and get it to reproduce pretty quickly, though I am probably going to order a second batch pretty soon. We're going to add some food here on day 2, and this is crab and crayfish food, which should be fine for our various invertebrates and microfauna in here. These are basically little sinking pellets, so I'm only going to add a couple. They will swell up in the tank, and they'll turn into quite a bit of food for these little animals. I don't want to overfeed the tank, as it could, poison things. So just a little food to start with. As we get higher and higher numbers of our little life forms inside, we will add a bit more food over time. I'm already very much in love with this tank, you guys. And it looks very different from anything that I've done here at Bucket Ponds. Speaking with a few of our friends like Clay Wise, who also has a YouTube channel now, check him out. But talking with a few of our friends, they seem to love hornwort as much as we are coming to ourselves, and that's really cool. This hornwort, I think that we can use this as a vacuum, as a nutrient vacuum to help suck up any fertilizer and plant food in some of our jars. We might even be able to use it to stop our green water or slow it down. If you're not familiar with bucket ponds, we have a very virulent and aggressive strain of green water, probably several different types. And so it's a bit of a problem, So I'm hoping that this hornwort will help to curb that and slow it down a little bit. The hornwort grows very quickly, and upwards of an inch a day, which sounds crazy, but yeah, it's really interesting. Our little ram's horns are very healthy, very active, and they seem to be much happier with that air pump running, so that makes me a happy guy in turn. I worry a lot about our pets, and I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't want to lose anybody. I want them all to thrive and reproduce and get all the food and things that they need. But I can tell you right away that these snails are very healthy with perfect shells, not a problem in the world. They must have come from a beautiful aquarium. And yeah, I think that's great. The scuds are a little harder to record as they move very quickly. They swim, they dart, they're very quick, very fast, very healthy though, and very active. So that's a good sign. As we breed them up, as we get more scuds going, we may be able to feed them our various extra plant cuttings like our dayflower. As you guys know, I always have tons and tons of dayflower everywhere, and I'm looking for things that will eat it. So we might have a excellent little omnivore here that will help us with that. I don't think that they'll eat the hornwort. They might. The hornwort it's a little bit rough, and I don't think a lot of things will eat it. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm pretty hopeful that we can get everything in here to reproduce and to double and triple and quadruple in number and biomass. So yeah, very excited. And here we are, day 3. Forgive me for rambling a little bit there on day 2. But day 3, I already see something amazing in here. The hornwort is growing very rapidly, faster than I have expected, faster than any other plant that I have encountered. So I do believe that we will be able to use this as a nutrient vacuum, to just gobble up all the plant fertilizers and plant food that is naturally in our aquariums. This tank in the background is currently undergoing a bacterial bloom, and I'm hoping that adding a cutting of hornwort might help to deny that bacteria some nutrition. Plus, I think it'll look really cool, and this is a bit of a test. We will look at that tank again in another video, that little tank in the background. But there's our hornwort from what I've read. This is how you propagate it. You just take a little cutting and drop it in another project, let it float, and it should begin to regrow and turn into a whole new batch of hornwort. There might be a little bit more complex than that, but I don't think so. We'll just add this to our little jar aquarium here in the background, and we'll check that tank out one day in the future, see if it did anything. I'm also adding a couple small cuttings to various nano aquariums in the background there. That's really cool, you guys. Less than a week after setup, and I am taking cuttings from these plants. That's amazing to me. I've told everyone about it. It really does feel like we're interacting with one of Tony's aquariums. And that's just so cool, We will talk more about these tanks in the future, and I might do a build video on this one here, which looks a little crazy right now, but I'm not too worried about it. But I am so happy with this project, you guys. Our Bag of Bugs Nano Aquarium here came out perfect. It's beautiful. Rapidly growing plants. Our Microfauana, they're very active. They're reproducing. I know because I'm seeing a lot more paramecium and things in here already. And, seeing how another hobbyist does their stuff, it's really cool because I'm sort of borrowing ideas. I see this tank and I think, wow, I could use hornwort to do all these different aquascapes. Immediately new ideas are coming up. I'm thinking, wow, I can use these leaves or leaves like this in this way and, build some beautiful projects as well. We can mix up our substrate a little bit, and I'm very excited. Just interacting with this Bag of Bugs Nano Aquarium, it's given me so many new ideas and, kind of given me things that we can adapt, incorporate into our own projects, mix up our own style a little bit, and have a lot of fun, So I am very, very happy with this project, you guys, with this purchase. I highly suggest that you get out there and get you a Bag of Bugs. So big thank you to our YouTube members and our Patreon supporters. I know it looks like we have a lot of members, you guys, but that's just because I gift a membership every now and then to like 5 or 10 people, but I hope that they enjoy it, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to make these videos. I'm so excited about this Bag of Bugs Nano Aquarium. The video doesn't do it justice. I always feel like that. I feel like, everything that we've done, and it's just not really seen on camera. I don't know how to say it. But I hope that you guys have a great day. I'll have another video up soon, probably featuring that little weird Nano aquarium that we saw, though I might do something else as well. And until I see you, I'll see you in the comments and stuff, and have a great time. Guys, lighten up, enjoy life, smile.